more than simply posting about your programs and services on social media to see consistent sales in your business. Today on Amplify Your Marketing Message, we're going to be talking about 6 reasons why you are not seeing sales success in your business. And if you want to turn it around and create more income, more impact, and see more profitability in your business consistently, dialing in and figuring out whether you have these 6 issues or some of these are gaps in your business will be a critical priority to turning your business around and maximizing the second half of the year. I am your host, Campbell Rapin, and I am a business mentor. I work with clients who are service providers to create predictable client growth by focusing on 3 business fundamentals: building an audience of buyers, mastering your marketing and message, and then finally having an offer that is compelling so that it converts consistently. I've helped more than 400 businesses create success, and we have created together more than $1 billion in revenue. And what I'm sharing with you today is the 6 most common reasons I see a lack of sales success, or I see that roller coaster of client growth. And I will tell you this, stepping off that roller coaster is an invitation, because being on it in the first place is optional. So let's take you through what these gaps are. And as you listen today, I want you to be thinking about, does this apply to me? And then thinking about how can you bridge the gap to turn it around in your business. So number 1, you are simply not talking about your programs and services by name frequently enough. Because we are content generators, often think we are talking about our programs and services all the time. But the truth is, the vast majority of you, including myself on really, really frequent occasions, simply don't do this enough. And why this is so important is because you need to remember, whether you are talking about your programs in your emails, in your social media, in conversation, or in events you're participating in, most of the people in the room might be hearing about it for the first time. Many people in the room are distracted and not hearing you. And so a very small percentage, like I'm talking probably less than 5, of the message gets through and lands. And so if you only talk about your programs and services infrequently because you think you're talking about it too much, you have got a very long runway to sales success. And so the simple truth is, remember that if your audience is not consistently showing up in your business asking you about your programs and services by name, you have a gap. And you need to step into that gap and increase the frequency about your talking about your business, programs and services by name. And one caveat to that, I'm not saying buy my stuff 1,000 times a day. I'm showing up talking about my programs and services that are inherently about the value they create. And yes, I am making invitations, but it's not the only type of content I put out there. And one of the great episodes previously here on this podcast is about the 4 content pillars and how to create movement around your audience around that. If you haven't watched that episode, go find it, because it will help you know how to talk about your offer a lot without it seeming like the same type of content over and over again. So I want you to address the first gap, which is talk about your program and services far more than you do today, and be sure you're talking about the results of your business. And if you are not seeing this land, remember, don't make your names of your program super cute and fluffy. People want to know, what does it do and what's the result it creates? So be careful with your naming convention on the marketing side. That's number 1. Number 2 is that you are simply not generating enough leads or enough qualified leads. One of the biggest gaps I see people is the truth that they don't talk to enough people, full stop. And generating leads can be done in many different ways. I fully advocate that you should be using low-tech, low-cost strategies until you have a minimal viable product, which means you have people coming to ask about it and consistently investing in it before you add into your lead generation paying for them. Because many people will promise you leads, and most should be great at doing it. However, if they're not the right leads, you are wasting dollars that could be best spent elsewhere and stretching out your runway to sales success. I guide my clients in the Business Scale Accelerator Mentorship Program to be in front of 1,000 people every month, ideally new people every month, because our goal is to get massive awareness. And through our marketing message, I turn the attention of those that seek the results that we can help guide them to and start moving them towards us, so that over a course of very intentional strategy, people show up in your business and say, tell me about program X because I desire the result Y and I see you as the must hire. That's a process. And recognize the more people you get in front of is key, because only 3% of people are ready to buy at any given time. If you are only talking to 3 people every month, you have a really long runway. And that's why you are on this roller coaster of sales. So generating more leads is key. And the better your messaging, the more intentional you are with your activity, the more qualified your leads will be. And a more qualified lead has this massive benefit. They move to yes more quickly. And if you want to condense from qualified conversation to a yes, getting the leads qualified is a priority. If you need help, ask me. The Business Scale Accelerator Mentorship Program might be the right place to support you to see that predictably in your business. Number 3 reason you are not seeing sales success is a pricing question. And that is that your price might not be appropriate to where your audience is at in this given moment. And the only way to know if you have a pricing problem is not to guess. Okay, stop guessing. You need to ask, is price the issue? And price can be an easy deflection, and it isn't always a pricing conversation. Pricing, remember, is relative. Pricing is relative to the value you create and the priority that someone sees that money being spent. So I want you to be thinking about, where is my audience now? What is the win they are looking for? What would make that win worth investing in? Hard cash. Recognizing that different rooms will have different elasticity around price. Because remember, a bottle of water can be sold at everything from free to $100 a bottle. It's not that the water is necessarily, it's all a commodity, but the value around that price changes based on who is in the room. And so when you're thinking about price, you need to research. You need to research, what is your client in the moment that they are seeking help? What are their alternates? And really spend time understanding, your client continued to seek help and do things on their own. They may have invested in programs before. What did that return? They might be thinking about what else are they spending money on, and you've got to find that sweet spot. And sometimes that sweet spot is in the room you've already started in, and sometimes it actually is in another room entirely. But pricing is an important conversation that you need to research and really get your head around, because you need to be sure about value creation, which is actually number 4. And that is, does your audience value what it is you are offering? This is not a given. Just because you value it as the crafter of the program or services does not mean that somebody else values it in the same light. You need to ask, research, same question. What are their alternates? What have they tried before? What makes this a priority? And if you've heard this podcast before, you know I talk about 3 lanes of traffic. Your audience is in 3 lanes depending on, are they problem aware and is it a priority to solve? If they are not problem aware and not seeing this as a priority, it does not matter, because they will not value your offer and you will not find clients in the slow lane. If there is a problem that they're aware of, but they are white knuckling the solution, and sometimes they get through it and sometimes they do it on their own, and sometimes they're looking for the easiest, inexpensive way to bump through a rocky spot, in that place, value is very different. And there can be great conversions in the middle lane, but you must be clear, what do they value? And value just isn't monetary. It is all kinds of ancillary ways that your audience might be valuing the result they seek. So you need to ask and research and document and always be very tied into that heartbeat. in order to create movement around it. The third lane, just for completeness here, is of course somebody who's problem aware, high urgency, and has hugely sought through what value do they put around the result. And it's go time. And that's why the unicorn client, the fast lane, moves quickly. So you need to know, does your audience value what you're offering? Looking through their perceived lens. And if their value that they say is not significantly higher than the investment, and there's this gap, getting client conversion rate is harder. And so the bigger gap you can create, the more easier you will get predictable conversion rates. And so that's number 4. Does your audience value what it is you're actually offering? One caveat to this, and this is something I work with my clients a lot in the Business Scale Accelerator, just remember not to put so much value into your offer that you price yourself right out of the game, that you perceive that the road they must travel is too complex, too long, and they're not going to see short-term wins. Sometimes the best strategy for more client conversion rate is actually to take up a huge piece of value and to put it into smaller sections. When you do that, clients can see that as an accessible win, a win they can afford. It has the advantage of stepping stones where the first win can lead to the second win, to the third win, and before you know it, you might take them to that full roadmap. But it is done at a pace that your audience values and is one that is comfortable for them to step into. And so sometimes the biggest thing is that we put too much value into the offer and it overwhelms our audience based on where they are at in their journey. Okay. Number 5, you are simply not growing your audience all of the time. Only 3% of your buyers are ready to say yes in any given moment. If you are not constantly bringing new people into your ecosystem, bringing new people into the awareness of the programs and services that you offer and the results that you predictably achieve through these programs, you are going to hit a gap. You're going to have periods in your pipeline that just become like a vacuum. And remember that not only is it a small percentage that are ready to say yes, is that most people are not unicorn clients who are ready to say yes really at a quick decision-making period. They often need to be nurtured. And most businesses go from discovery to a yes in 90-day cycles. So staying in the movement of building an audience every day is key, because if you take 2 months off your business and stop doing any audience buildings, I will tell you down the road, you are going to have a vacuum to fill. And it is easier to stay in movement than to create it, especially client growth. Client growth takes time to build. And that's why staying in the strategy, picking your lane, and being consistent is the ultimate compound effect to growth in your business. But I tell clients in the Business Scale Accelerator, if you are already in high momentum and capacity is sitting at that 80, 90, and 100% of your resources, you must still be audience building 50% of your time. Because as clients graduate, as clients finish the work they're doing with you, you are going to need new people in your pipeline in which to make offers to. And if you are somebody who is still looking to grow to that next level or still looking to create predictability in your client growth plan, then even as high as 70 to 80% of your time must be spent on audience building. And again, here in this podcast, there's some great previous episodes that talk about how to build an audience buyers. If you've not watched them, be sure to go find them because they will give you some tips on how to do this effectively. As I said earlier, I'm not an advocate of buying traffic. I want you to curate demand. I want you to create it, and that will help you be able to identify qualified leads who know your programs and services by name, where you are clear that you have the price right, that value it, and are ready to say yes quite quickly. So number 5, though, is that you must be growing your audience. This is something that must be done all the time. And anytime that you create peaks and valleys, almost always I can go back and say, what happened with your audience building activity? If it stagnated, down the road, you will see that show up in your client growth numbers. The 6th and final thing that I see really consistently, the reason you are not seeing sales success in your business is that you simply are not asking for the sale. And you're like, what? I'm pretty sure I'm asking. I'm like, nope, you're passive aggressively putting it out there, hoping somebody finds it. And I will tell you, this is something that even happened just last week when I was in a networking call with somebody in my business and said, I'd love your perspective on my strategy. And so we took a moment to look at their presentation. And the final slide is name and phone number. I said, well, that's not an ask. An ask is a very intentional offer with a let's move forward in the equation. And if it's not intentional, chances are you didn't make an ask. And an ask looks like this. Somebody comes to you and says, I am looking for the Business Scale Accelerator Mentorship Program because I desire consistent, predictable client growth. And I believe you, knowing, Christine, that you have 3 foundations of success. I need to learn how to build my audience of buyers. I need to work on the messaging so that I can create predictable movement and identify qualified leads from the audience. And I need to really fine tune the offer because I'm not seeing yeses. Christine, tell me what it's like to work with you. And I say, I'd love to. Working with me looks like the following. I offer a 6-month mentorship or a year-long commitment. Most clients take the year-long commitment because building these foundations takes time. We want to iterate, reapply, and go through highs and lows in the client growth cycle so that you can create better decisions, more predictable results, and really create the engine for long-term success. To work with me looks like the following. How does that feel? And is it a priority to solve today? If the answer is yes, I say, well, working with me looks like this. Are you ready to move forward? I will get the credit card machine out and we will take payment right now. When do you want to have your first session? Let's book it in today. And I will follow up with a contract. That is a very clear ask. And if that doesn't sound like what you're doing in your business, chances are your ask needs some fine tuning because you as the business owner must lead that. And you must be very clear that you don't just put it out there with a spray and pray attitude of saying, well, I posted it. If you need me, come find me. I will tell you that that's one of the reasons you're in your own way. So in today's episode of Amplify Your Marketing Message, we've been talking about if you want consistent client growth in your business and you do not have strong sales success, predictable client growth, and high conversion rates, which means the people you offer say, yes, let's move forward, chances are one of these 6 reasons are the culprit in your path right now. And perhaps maybe even more than one of them. They are, you're not talking about your offer enough by name. You are not generating enough leads. Your pricing is outlying in the marketplace and you are not priced appropriately. You have not been clear about the value you offer and it's not seen as valuable to the clients who are seeking alternates in the marketplace. You are not growing your audience consistently and you did not, in fact, ask for the sale. If you feel a bit called out and you go, ooh, I think that might be me. Well, I have an invitation for you, and it is to connect to me on www.christinecampbellrapin.com, book a call, and that's hyphenated, book-a-call. I want you to come in and have a conversation with me. I'm going to talk to you about the Business Scale Accelerator Mentorship Program, and we're going to talk about which of these 6 gaps are yours, and in the foundation piece, what is driving this gap. Is it you don't know how to build an audience? Is it you do not have buyers in your mix? Is it that you're not creating movement with qualified leads? And really, are we positioning you as a likable expert or are we positioning you as the must hire? Let's have that conversation. Again, you can connect to me at christinecampbellrapin.com. You can see my name is spelled Christine Campbell Rapin, RAPIN.com. My name is on the screen and in the show notes. And I want you to do /book-a-call. Let's have a conversation, figure out the roadmap you need, and if appropriately, let's work together to help you amplify your marketing message. Be sure to subscribe to this podcast. Be sure to check out previous episodes to help you build the roadmap to creating consistent income, consistent impact, as you navigate the growth of your business. Until next time, we will see you all soon. Take care.